Ross Weiss placing her hand on Leon's chest, she activated a spell, whispering, "Dragon Flames." Leon, caught off guard by the sudden spell, quickly noticed but had little time to react. Leon, quickly jumping back, exclaimed that he was on fire. However, as Leon came to a realization, the flames began to fade, and he remarked that it wasn't very hot after all. Ross Weiss, folding her arms, questioned how they could be distracted while the battle wasn't over yet. At that moment, Noah and Moon rushed over to Ross Weiss and Leon. Moon, calling out to her mom and dad, eagerly asked who won in the end. While the outcome was clear, it was Leon who won in the end. But Leon, he admitted, that he had been careless at the end and lost this time. Ross Weiss, boasting, acknowledged Leon's strength. She admitted that without enchanted armor and weapons, Leon was able to challenge her to this extent using just his physical skills, a feat no one had ever accomplished before. Leon, clenching his fists in frustration, denied her words, asserting that if he fought with all his strength, he would definitely be able to defeat her. Ross Weiss, smirking at Leon, reminded him of their bet and told him not to forget it. Her words hit Leon hard, and he coughed up blood as he suddenly remembered the terms of the bet. Collapsing to the ground, Leon's soul seemingly left his body. Moon and Noah surrounded Leon as he lay on the ground. Moon asked her mother if her dad was dead. Ross Weiss reassured her, explaining that her father had simply used too much strength and collapsed from exhaustion. She assured them that he would recover soon. Though Leon had progressed significantly and shown great strength, escaping the Silver Dragon Castle was still beyond his current abilities. The scene concluded with a note that the next chapter, featuring a romance element, would be coming soon. Subscribe for future updates, watch my other videos too, as there was still a lot to reach. That night, in the children's room of Silver Dragon Castle, Leon looked at Noah and Moon with concern. He reminded Noah to take good care of Moon, emphasizing that she was still young and needed guidance. As the elder sister, Noah had the responsibility to look after her. He then instructed Moon to listen to her sister, not to make her angry, and to be a good girl at home. Leon expressed his deepest concern about leaving them, wondering how their mother could bear to take him away when they were still so young. Noah, puzzled by his reaction, questioned why he made it sound so dramatic when he was only going to stay in their mother's room for one night. Leon, with a heavy heart, compared his situation to an execution, stating that a beheading would be over in an instant, whereas their mother had the ability to torment someone for an entire night. The thought of what awaited him was far more terrifying than any form of torture. Moon, in her innocent way, interpreted the situation differently, concluding that their mother simply wanted to eat their father. Moon recalled something she had read in a book, mentioning that after mating, a female mantis would eat the male. This comparison made Leon uneasy, although it is said that eating this is not eating that, still Dad is about to be eaten. He couldn't understand why Moon seemed so happy about it. Ross Weiss interrupted, dismissing the dramatic conversation and assuring them that she wasn't as scary as Leon made her out to be. She urged the children to go to bed early, reassuring them that she only wanted to have an interesting discussion with their father that night. Hearing her words, Leon was momentarily taken aback. He questions about the interesting thing. When Ross Weiss mentioned discussing the birth of the universe, he cautiously questioned if she meant the birth of life instead. Ross Weiss continued, mentioning the mysteries of the world, to which Leon hesitantly responded, suspecting she was referring to the mysteries of the human body. Ross Weiss, cutting the conversation short, insisted that it was time to leave. Leon, realizing he had no choice, tried to delay by declaring that he had some final words to say. He turned to Noah and Moon, reminding them that no matter what happened, their father would always love them. Moon, filled with curiosity, wondered what their parents were about to do. Noah, uninterested, dismissed the thought, deciding to let the naive adults be. Meanwhile, in the Queen's bedroom of Silver Dragon Castle, Ross Weiss offered Leon a drink. When he refused, she gave him a silent yet serious look. Ross Weiss questions his decision. She reminded him of his promise to fulfill her request after losing to her, expressing disappointment that he wouldn't even drink. Leon, firm in his stance, insisted that he wasn't in the mood. Internally, he resolved to keep his sanity and not let her control the situation. Ross Weiss, instead of pressing further, admitted that she had hoped he would win. This unexpected statement caught Leon off guard. She explained that if he had won, she would have given him a month off, allowing him time to recover and making things potentially more interesting. Leon, seeing an opportunity, asked why she didn't just admit defeat now. Ross Weiss, however, declined, revealing that she had thought of an even better way. Ross Weiss raises the wine glass in her hands, tilting it gracefully before letting the deep red liquid cascade down her skin. The wine trickles over her collarbone and down her breasts, glistening under the soft glow of the room. With a teasing smirk, she remarks in a mocking tone how much she enjoys watching Leon refuse to admit defeat, even after losing to her. Without warning, she settles onto his lap, the warmth of her presence catching him off guard. His breath hitches as he stammers, questioning what she is doing. Ignoring his hesitation, Rossweiss grips his shirt, her voice soft yet commanding as she tells him to drink. Leon's gaze locks onto her, his face heating as he takes in the sight before him. The rich aroma of red wine mingles with her natural scent, creating an intoxicating allure that makes his heart race. Internally, he struggles to hold back, knowing that this moment is one that tests his every restraint. As he gulps, his thoughts waver. Something this beautiful feels impossible to refuse. Yet, as he hesitates, Rossweiss takes control. Her fingers weave through his hair as she gently but firmly pulls him closer, guiding him toward her breasts, and then she puts the Leon face between her breasts. The warmth of her body and the lingering fragrance of the wine envelop him, heightening the tension between them. As he gives in, his lips brushing against her wine-kissed skin, licking the wine on her breasts. Rossweiss's breath catches, she moans loudly and her face tinged with a deep flush. A soft sound escapes her, the air between them growing heavier as their breaths sink in the charged silence. Their gazes meet, the unspoken emotions between them reflected in their flushed expressions. Leon, still searching for control, finally speaks, asking if this is enough. Rossweiss, lifting his chin with delicate fingers, meets his gaze with unwavering confidence, her voice barely above a whisper as she responds, "Of course, it's not." Rossweiss instructs Leon to open his mouth. As he obeys, she smirks and bites her lips, causing blood to flow. She lets the blood drip into Leon's mouth. His eyes widen in shock as he realizes what it is. Pushing Rossweiss away, he reacts instinctively, asking what she is doing. Rossweiss, sitting on Leon's lap, smirks as he reacts. A sudden sensation takes over him, and he recognizes the effects of a forbidden technique. Rossweiss confirms it, the blood curse. She activates a spell, and the dragon mark on her chest begins to glow. The same mark appears on Leon's chest, intensifying the connection. The blood curse takes effect, clouding Leon's mind as a spell activates in his eyes. Trembling, he clutches his chest, questioning her actions. Rossweiss reveals that ever since he used the forbidden technique on her 2 years ago, she has longed for the sensation again. Leon, angered, reminds her of the heavy price that comes with using such a technique. Rossweiss acknowledges the consequences but explains that she modified the spell to minimize its harmful effects on the dragon's body, keeping only its enchanting influence. The dragon mark on her chest glows brighter, for the intimacy moment between them. Leon shakes his head as heat spreads through his body, his mind turning blank under the overwhelming effects of the blood curse. Rossweiss watches him with amusement, acknowledging how she has always been the one forcing and threatening him, while he remained reluctant. Leaning in, she whispers into his ear, demanding that he lose control, coaxes her desperately like a mad dog and begs her to have sex with her. Leon struggles against the enchantment but ultimately falls to his knees, unable to resist. Rossweiss's red eyes gleam with satisfaction as she laughs, declaring that the game is about to begin. She addresses him mockingly, her delicious captive, Mr. Leon Cosmode. Under the effects of the blood curse, Leon breathes heavily, clutching his chest as he stares at Rossweiss. She observes him with amusement, noting how he is close to losing control. Summoning a mirror-like artifact into her hands, she presents it to him. Rossweiss explains that the artifact is a magic prop she acquired in Sky City, capable of recording short-term reflections. Turning it toward him, she asks what he truly desires at this moment. Leon's reflection speaks before he can react, uttering words that take him by surprise, a desire to kiss. Shocked, he internally resists, convinced that it is not his true intent. Rossweiss, with a provoking tone, urges him to repeat it louder. Against his will, the words escape his lips again. Leon expressed a desire to kiss Rossweiss. Internally, he was startled, realizing he hadn't intended to say those words. Rossweiss, holding Leon's chin, mocked him, pointing out how embarrassed he had become. She mocks him for abandoning his principles and humbly asking for a kiss from the enemy. The curse tightens its grip on Leon, clouding his thoughts. Yet, despite its influence, he suddenly declares his defiance, that he wouldn't give her a kiss. He suddenly fell silent and lost his senses as the blood curse took over him. Without warning, he jumped at Rossweiss, pinning her to the ground and getting on top of her, breathing heavily. Rossweiss notes it was unusual for Leon to be so impatient. Leon licking Rossweiss's hand, he then expressed his desire to kiss and hug her. Leon looks into her eyes and says that he wanted to be one with her. Rossweiss thought to herself that this was how she had taken the initiative when under the blood curse. A proud smile crossed her face as she reflected on how Leon had come to this point. Embarrassed yet holding him tightly in her arms, she responded that he had asked for this. She then remarked, wanting to see his true appearance after he fell. We knew what would happen next in the room. Let's move on further. The next morning in the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon wakes up beside Rosweiss, holding his head after a long night of intimacy. Leon reflects on how he had fallen again the previous night. Sitting on the bed, he thinks about the blood curse that had made him set aside his pride and dignity as a dragon slayer, forcing him to beg her to be with him. Leon, feeling angered, looks at Rosweiss and thinks about the shame that had crossed a line he never thought possible. He observes her, realizing that as the culprit, she had seemingly enjoyed herself and fallen asleep. As Leon touches Rosweiss's face, he finds her looking defenseless. As realization hits him what he is doing, his face turns red. He reflects on what he's done and wonders how he had subconsciously touched her face. Leon wonders why he felt the urge to touch her, convincing himself that his only intention was to wake her up and nothing more. He questions why she didn't react, suspecting that she might be pretending to be asleep. Poking her head lightly, he tells her to stop pretending and wake up. He touches her face again, urging her to get up quickly, noting how she is usually very self-disciplined. As he looks at her, he grows concerned, wondering why she hasn't woken up yet. He considers the possibility that she might still be under the influence of the blood curse. Reflecting on the curse, he recalls that its effects depend on the caster's physical fitness. When he cast the blood curse on the verge of death, it put him in a coma for 2 years. Rosweiss, being a healthy dragon queen, might remain in a coma for about a week. Leon gazes at Rosweiss, lost in deep thought for a while. His expression darkens as an idea forms in his mind. Now is the perfect opportunity to escape. Scanning the room, he considers his options. He knows that in a week, an ordinary human body wouldn't be able to get far, but with the black gold armor, combined with stamina recovery potions and pills, he could run at full speed and make it back to the human realm. The thought excites him, and he begins to laugh, imagining Rosweiss waking up only to find him long gone. By the time she realizes he's missing, it will be too late. Placing his hands on his waist, Leon laughs louder and louder, reveling in his plan. But suddenly, he falls silent. His expression shifts, becoming gloomy, as if he's lost something important. The weight of his thoughts settles heavily on him. He murmurs to himself, realizing that it has been 2 years since he left the Empire. He wonders what the situation is like there now, his mind filled with uncertainty. Leon's mind drifts back to the memory of his betrayal, recalling the moment he was stabbed from behind with a sword. He reflects on the many unanswered questions surrounding his capture, realizing that returning to the Empire rashly would be too risky. He decides cautiousness is the wiser path. Deep in thought, he remembers that he has already asked Rosweiss to investigate the current situation of his master, so perhaps he should wait for their update. A smile crosses his face as another important thing he has. In the garden, Moon and Noah are playing together. Moon chasing after a butterfly, calling out to Noah to grab it. While Noah follows closely behind, urging her to slow down and be careful. Leon, thinking about his dear daughters, realizes that he cannot abandon them now. Leon realizes that he still has to stay in the Silver Dragon Castle for now. Looking at Rosweiss, he reflects that after all, he hasn't taken his revenge yet. Leon with a smile looking at Rosweiss, he calls out Rosweiss' name. Rosweiss, still in a coma, remains deeply asleep. Rosweiss sleeps in a coma. Moon and Noah enter the bedroom, having learned of their mother's condition. Moon looks at her with concern, observing that she has slept all day. Noah questions Leon about the events of the previous night, prompting Leon to hesitate as he scratches his head, unsure how to answer. He explains that they had been chatting on the balcony and that she may have caught a cold from the cold wind. Turning to Anna, Leon reassures her that it's not a big deal. Anna informs them that the castle physician has examined the queen and that, apart from feeling a little weak, everything else is normal. Anna then offers to handle the clan's affairs in the queen's stead and asks if His Majesty has any other matters to attend to. She will go take care of them. Leon acknowledges her request and tells her to go ahead, as she's busy. Moon gently pats her mother Rosweiss's head, wishing for her to get better soon and promising never to make her angry again. Leon, observing his wife, wonders why she is sweating so much and thinks about wiping her down later. Noah notices Leon's deep thoughts and questions whether he plans to do something while Rosweiss is unconscious. Leon reassures her, telling Noah that he's only focused on taking care of her mother. Noah, satisfied, says it's good to hear that, and suggests they return. She tells Moon they can come to see her mother tomorrow. Moon promises to return, saying goodnight to her mother. With a cheerful tone, She wishes her father good night, and Leon smiles, returning the bond. Leon looks at Rossweiss, deciding that he should get a basin of water. He brings it over, wets a cloth, and begins carefully wiping the sweat from her body. As he does so, he softly explains that he applied the cloth to her because he was worried she might catch a cold, urging her not to misunderstand his actions when she wakes up. Leon observes her condition, reflecting on how, normally, she proudly displays her big tail, but now, weakened, even that part of her is hidden. He contemplates whether it would be a good idea to change her clothes after finishing the task. As he examines her wardrobe, he realizes there are many options and considers choosing something to his liking. Leon, looking through the clothes, settles on an off-shoulder, low-cut outfit with a bow tie and black stockings. Leon says that he has found similar styles to replace the clothes he needs and wonders about the ears, considering how to manage them. He contemplates braiding her hair and he do so. After finishing the task, a blush spreads across his face as he looks at Rossweiss in her new clothes. Staring at her, Leon, his face bright red, exclaims that she's wearing a bunny girl limited edition costume. But we know it's not a bunny girl but a bunny dragon. Leon scratches his cheek, still blushing, and admits that he hadn't expected it to suit her so well. Suddenly, the dragon mark on Leon's chest begins to glow brightly, catching him off guard. He reacts with surprise, wondering aloud why the dragon pattern is glowing at this moment. Leon recalls Rossweiss's words from the past, where she explained that if one of the two people with the dragon seal wants to engage in sex with the other, the dragon pattern will react. Leon is taken aback, and a loud scream thinking about it. He is horrified by the idea, insisting that he couldn't possibly have such thoughts about Rossweiss while sober. He blames the reaction on her bunny girl costume, trying to rationalize his feelings. To calm himself, Leon decides that reciting the 3 honors and 3 shames of a dragon slayer 10 times will help. He begins the mantra, 3 honors and 3 shames of a dragon slayer. On the left side, the honors are, be proud of being loyal to the Empire, be proud of fighting on the battlefield, be proud of slaying dragons and protecting their home. On the right side, the shames are, shame on whoever colluded with the dragon clan, shame on whoever for deserting a battle, shame on whoever for betraying the enemy. Leon sighs deeply, reflecting that he narrowly avoided crossing a line he never should have. Leon looks at Rossweiss and, with a smirk, thinks that it would be a shame not to capture the rare sight of her dress this way. He recalls that she once mentioned having a home camera, so he quickly begins searching the room, rummaging through the desk. After a moment, he exclaims that he found it. Leon starts taking pictures of Rossweiss from every angle, laughing to himself as he does so. Leon thought to himself that Rossweiss had never expected this day to come as well. Leon smirks, urging her to smile for the photos. Leon, taking the photos, says that he'll make sure to preserve these dark history photos properly, he adds, his voice filled with amusement. However, as he's taking the photos, Rossweiss, who is under the effect of the blood curse, lets out a small moan. Leon, hearing the faint moan, is taken aback and wonders if she's starting to wake up. Leon stood still, observing Rossweiss for a while in silence. Not seeing any reaction, he felt relieved, thinking it was just a false alarm. He decided it would be best to change back into ordinary pajamas and carry out the next step of the revenge plan tomorrow. The next day, Moon ran to Noah, calling out to her. Hearing her name, Noah turned around and looked at Moon. Noah asked what had happened, telling her to speak slowly. Moon explained that her Rubik's Cube had broken, and she wanted to ask Daddy to fix it, but she couldn't find him anywhere. As she spoke, Noah began to think it might be possible that he had escaped while Mom was unconscious. It seems Noah knows something about Leon. Let's see about it in the future development in the chapters. Noah, taking Moon's hand, reassured her, saying not to worry and that she would go with her to find him. Together, they ran off in search of him. Moon called out loudly, "Where Daddy is?" Moon and Noah started searching the Silver Dragon Castle, calling out for their daddy. They checked the Rossweiss room, but Moon noted that he wasn't there. Then, they checked his room, and Moon said he wasn't there either. Moon looked through the dustbin, still calling for him. Noah questioned how he could be there. Moon turned to Noah, expressing her worry about not being able to find her daddy. Noah replied that some people are kind, but they may leave eventually, just like before. Moon was puzzled, asking if it was like last time. Noah responded, suggesting that, if she was right, that man was gone now. Leon, the free bird, jumps over the Silver Dragon Castle walls, running away from home. His face fills with confidence as he leaves. Noah always felt there was something different about her family. It appeared harmonious on the surface, but in reality, there were many falsehoods. From what she could remember, the man had always been in the room, and her mother had told them that he was their father. One day, the man finally woke up, but it was clear he wanted to run away. His mother brought him back without offering any explanation, and since then, he never attempted to escape again. However, she didn't believe he was staying willingly. Over time, the man began to deliberately approach her, trying to please her, teaching her, and acting like a good father. But she couldn't help but wonder, was this really out of love for her, or was it part of a plan to take advantage of their lowered guard and secretly find an opportunity to escape? Noah thought that when love came with unknown motives, it was better to have no love at all than to be used as a tool by someone else. The man didn't belong there, and sooner or later, he would abandon them and leave. Moon, in tears, expressed her fear that their mother wouldn't wake up and that their father wouldn't want them anymore. She asked Noah what they should do in the future. Noah, trying to comfort her, reassured her that it was okay and that she would protect her. Moon, crying loudly, hugged Noah tightly. Noah, comfort her, suggested that they should hold a farewell ceremony for the man. At the same time, near the back mountain of the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon observed the scenery, noting that it was indeed beautiful, just as the maid had said. A few hours earlier, Leon had asked Anna about something. Anna had replied, asking if His Majesty was interested in knowing where Her Majesty the Queen liked to go. Leon confirmed, saying that he wanted to take a walk that day. Anna offered to send someone to accompany him, but Leon declined, saying he could go by himself and asking her to simply mark the location on the map. Now, looking at the map, Leon thought to himself that usually, his movements were limited. He could only venture out when the female dragon was unconscious. This was his opportunity to explore the surrounding area and plan a surprise for her when she woke up. Leon thought to himself that, of course, investigating the places the female dragon liked was just a cover, part of his revenge plan. He intended to take advantage of her weakness when she woke up and make her suffer humiliation in a place she held dear, just like she had done to him in front of her hometown. He then looked at a nearby tree, thinking it was thick enough for his purposes. As he imagined Rosweiss against the tree, and in his arms he noted that the position would be just right. As Leon walked around, he observed that the soil on the ground was not soft enough, thinking it would be better to cover it with flower petals when the time came. He then glanced at the Silver Dragon Castle, noting that from here, he could see it clearly, which wasn't bad. He decided to include this location in his plans as well, along with a forest creek, North Cliff, Golden Grassland, and quiet cave Cherry Blossom Forest. Satisfied, Leon declared everything ready, the only remaining task to wait for Rosweiss to awaken. With a dark expression, he giggled to himself, saying the female dragon will be in trouble this time. At the Silver Dragon Castle courtyard, where everyone is crying loudly. In front of them, a fire rages. Leon wonders what's going on, asking why it's so lively. A maid, tears streaming down her face, explains that the two princesses had requested a funeral and asked them to prepare a bonfire. Moon, tearing up, offers to give the steak to Leon and wishes for his return and sees them. Noah notes that the person has already left and tells Moon to let it go. Confused, Leon wonders if this is some kind of new pretend game and chooses to cooperate a little. As he pushes through the crowd, he struggles to move forward. The maids, upon seeing him, are shocked and find it hard to believe their eyes. Leon notices and questions about what they are worshipping. A memory surfaces, their grandfather once taught him to play the swona, and asks if they want him to show them how to play it. Upon seeing his photo, he smiles in recognition, pausing briefly to admire how handsome it looks. As realization strikes, his jaw drops in shock, and he screams loudly, overwhelmed by disbelief. Happy Valentine's Day to all. Subscribe now for more.